This episode is brought to you by Jira. Jira is the only project management tool you need to plan and track work across any team. So if you're a team of developers, Jira better connects you with teams like marketing and design, so you have all the information you need in one place. Plus, their AI helps you knock out the small stuff so you can focus on delivering your best work. Get started on your next big idea today in Jira.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I've got a really fantastic guest for you today, Frank Alvo, coming out of New Jersey, and he's got some very interesting ideas around SEO. He has the thesis that SEO is being done incorrectly among physicians, and he's going to teach us how to optimize SEO with video as opposed to the standard traditional method of blogs. And he's got a really interesting way to streamline and make it more efficient and effective. So I'm really happy to have him on and introduce him. So great. Well,
hi, Christopher. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, really introduce yourself briefly, and then we'll dive right into the conversation.
So my name is Frank Olivo. I'm the founder of Saga Pixel. I oversee all of our client strategy. We specialize in doing SEO for healthcare providers. And that, as you teased, we have been really looking towards the best ways to integrate social media with SEO. Like, honestly, not only getting how we can produce one piece of content that can be discovered both through search engines and through social media.
Yeah. And what was interesting, because we were talking about this, and so one thing we were talking about is I asked you the question, is SEO dead? But you said, and originally I thought it was SEO would be dead, but then with the advent of AI and you can get transcripts, but you say that blogs are dead, but video is not. So talk about this idea of using SEO in the current trend where people are watching videos, listening to podcasts, and how we can add some oomph to our social media marketing.
Yeah. As you said, blogging is dead at least in healthcare. There are areas where people will sit down and read a blog, in particular when they need to be walked through fixing a problem, which isn't really the case with healthcare. But at the same time, it basically comes down to the fact that there's a mismatch between the way people look for their information and the format in which they prefer to consume it. People, when they have a question, they go to Google and they perform their search there. And at that point, they are going to maybe consume a little bit of the information that they're finding in the Google's AI overview, or maybe if they click through to a few of the websites, they'll read the information. But the thing is that they're just skimming it. And that presents very little upside for a physician, because they're not going to remember, first of all, they're not going to know who you were. All they're doing is skimming a blog excerpt. And aside from that, it really, those blogs, it's very difficult for you to come across in any way, positive or negative, honestly. Now, people prefer video content. As I said, there's a misalignment between the way people look for information and the format they want to consume it in. Most people prefer video over the written word, but there's still not wide adoption of TikTok search and YouTube search when people have questions. YouTube to a lesser extent. Vast majority of people are still Googling. So what we've done for our clients has been marry these two media together. So instead of sitting down and writing a blog for our clients, we've been getting on video with them. We're normally scheduling an hour-long session where we'll go in with the same outlines that would have been used 3 years ago or 5 years ago that we would have handed to a writer. And we're now walking through those outlines in this kind of format, like Christopher and I are in right now, basically forcing the doctor to dictate what they would have written in a blog if they would have sat down to write it. Taking that video, generating a transcript out of it, optimizing that for search, adding header tags, tweaking it to be more search optimized. We're doing entity optimization to try to reduce the semantic distance between the language that the doctor used and the target keyword of the article, adding internal linking to other articles. We're coaching them through a strategy for putting together playlists around specific topics. So earlier, before we started recording, I was sharing with you my experience of getting cataract surgery. I wanted to educate myself on the types of lenses that are out there and what would possibly be the right one for me. The ophthalmologist that was shooting the video on the 5 types of lenses very well may have benefited from directing me to other types of videos, such as what can I expect on the day of my surgery? What is the typical recovery time? How long will I have to wear a shield following my cataract surgery? All of these topics are opportunities for the physician to spend more time with me and for me to feel more comfortable with them, and frankly, make me want to contact them to do my surgery instead of the original surgeon who, frankly, I wasn't going to be able to see anyway. Insurance. And it's always fun.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you described this process because I had a colleague, he's a blogger, and he would describe to me this process. He got to search for keywords and he had to have an editor and it was going to be SEO friendly, but now you're moving to video and you're applying SEO principles. One thing that you mentioned was this idea of, because I know YouTube is the second most powerful search engine. And I know a lot of millennials and Gen Z now, they go to Instagram and they go to TikTok to get their information. So how does that play in YouTube? Because you said the majority is Google search, but what about YouTube and TikTok and Instagram? And then also, what about the advent of ChatGPT? Because now a lot of the younger generation, they just go straight to ChatGPT and bypass Google. What are your thoughts?
I personally use TikTok when I want a short video answer to something, because I know that you're not going to have all of the exposition and everything that you find on YouTube. For things related to health, generally speaking, people are willing to spend a little bit more time. If I want a recipe, TikTok all the way. When I wanted an explanation of the different types of lenses that could be implanted for my cataract surgery, I'm willing to dedicate 5 minutes of my day to that. And as a result, YouTube is a better channel. Now, all of the principles that apply to identifying topics that are on your buyer's journey that you can rank for, all of the sort of things that a good SEO does for content marketing works with YouTube. As a matter of fact, on LinkedIn, a friend of mine or a colleague asked about keyword research tools for YouTube. And I was like, I'm just using the SEO. If people are searching on Google, they're searching for it on YouTube usually. The one difference between the channels, which I think is minor, by the way, is that YouTube pays very close attention to the engagement on your videos. It's really important to get people to watch to the end of the video, to comment, to interact with other videos on your channel. I have my personal theory that Google is paying attention to user signals and data that's collecting from Chrome, that when people are visiting your blog or your website, do they seem to be finding what they're looking for? Do they tend to go back to the search engine? And there's been evidence that's come out that Google may be using this data, but we don't have the smoking gun yet saying that, yeah, they're paying attention to whether people spend 5 minutes on your articles the way YouTube is paying attention to whether people watch until the end of your YouTube video.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And yeah, it's really interesting because Google, of course, you get the YouTube search because you get the videos. And then it seems to me like these social media algorithms for TikTok and Instagram are just so powerful that they can identify user behavior and then feed up the posts or ads that are most relevant. Then what's the next question I have for you to follow up is a lot of the media consumption is evolving into audio, like audiobooks and podcasts. So how do you fit in SEO strategies within podcasts?
I actually have not done anything with integrating podcasts into SEO strategies. I think there's one opportunity really, and frankly, it plays into YouTube as well. It's just not something that we've got. None of our clients run podcasts, but just having the gears turn here, a lot of what our goal with content, so this will all tie together. So one of the goals that we have for our SEO clients is when someone Googles their symptoms or their medical question and they land on our client's blog to get the answer to that, our goal is to get them into their social media funnel. In other words, what I don't want to have happen is they land on the website, they get the answer to their question, and they leave, never to be seen again. Or for us to cross our fingers and hope that they're going to Google another medical question and find our client's website again 2 weeks later. That's not a goal. Our goal is to get them, they Google they Google their symptoms, they land on our client's website, and from there, they're going to end up on a YouTube account, on a YouTube channel, or an Instagram account. There is the third option of a podcast, where you could say, have in the video the content that they're consuming, or in the transcript or in the article that's been written, saying that we get into more detail about such a topic in such a podcast, click here to check it out. And now the person's into your podcast funnel, if you want to view it that way. We've never done it, but it could work the same way as what we do with YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah, really fascinating. And particularly, I found that on healthcare, it's a little bit different because the clientele and the doctors in general, it's a little bit different, their adaptation and use of technology. And what was really particularly striking to me was we have this new way of doctors getting into healthcare SEO. So are a lot of the physicians that you're working with in your client, do they have YouTube channels, or are they focused on short form content? What are they particularly focusing, building their brands on?
Most of our clients have been focused on YouTube, but that's really just because of us, honestly, because YouTube works so much like SEO. TikTok and Instagram Reels works differently. It's not so much that neither of those, the search functions of both of those platforms is minimal, meaning you don't have a lot of people going in there and looking up their questions. It's more like flipping through the channels on cable than going to the library. And really that's just what our wheelhouse is. It just happens to be that YouTube is a much more engaging library. It's like going to Blockbuster.
Yeah. An adjacent question I have for you is with generative AI, because I know you were talking about focusing on a particular skill set in a niche, and we're always adapting. How are you thinking about AI? How are you thinking about generative AI for the clients, and how are you positioning yourself?
So generative AI has been phenomenal at eliminating tedious work. So when we are putting together an outline for an article, like I mentioned earlier, Google, when you perform a search, can I take Ozempic if I'm on high blood pressure medicine? Google, first of all, wants to make sure that it's giving accurate information from trusted sources, but it also wants comprehensive information. And before ChatGPT, it was a very manual process for us to go through and read all of the articles that were already ranking to try to figure out what does Google deem to be comprehensive and what does it deem to be bloated. And ChatGPT will handle that 20-minute process in about 3 minutes now. It will also help us to generate out the introductions to our videos. So we can ask it, we've built custom GPTs to help it put together, script out the first 15 seconds of our client's video. So we're not having these physicians just wing it at the beginning, where we're feeding it right here. Here's your hook to introduce the video. Here's your call to action. And we feed that all to them, and ChatGPT helps us, and Gemini help us to craft that for them. Again, very tedious work. After the transcript has been written, the video has been uploaded, our next step is take the subtitles from YouTube. We have a custom GPT for that as well that will add headings, initial headings, format it, correct any sort of spelling, add punctuation, format it in one sentence paragraphs, basically very easily scannable. And then we will probably at that point spend probably 10 minutes with the physical optimization of the task, like Generative AI is doing so much of the tedious work for us.
Wow. It's really interesting because these are AI tools now, because before it could be what you were talking about, automate and like the repetitive stuff, it can just eliminate that and just take care of. And now when it gets really good to be able to generate creative content and ink in combination with human creativity, it's going to be really amazing. Next question I have for you is, we have around 5 more minutes. Do you see the future of SEO with evolving algorithms, user behaviors, and particularly for healthcare marketing?
I don't think that local SEO is going to go anywhere. When people are looking for a physician, they're still going to turn to Google, and showing up in the map results and showing up in the blue link results are still going to be very important. I think content marketing is going to have the same effectiveness, though I think video is going to need to be part of this. And again, people land on those blogs, they're not going to remember you and they're not going to know anything about you if all that you're doing is blogging, but they will if you are shooting video. I think that ChatGPT, when it comes to health, is never going to dominate this whole process, but it will become more of a factor for other buyers' journeys outside of healthcare. I also think that all of these platforms, Amazon, for example, is going to better incorporate it. I found myself going into ChatGPT to ask it. We needed to buy car seats for our kids, not car seats, booster seats, and I had very specific criteria. And Amazon really wasn't giving me what I wanted when I searched. ChatGPT did. It gave me 3 recommendations and I ended up buying one of them. But I don't really see that translating to healthcare just because it's such a sensitive topic. Again, if you're going to Google, how much weight can I expect to lose in 6 months on semaglutide? Are you really going to rely on an AI's answer to make that kind of decision? Probably not. You're going to want to hear from doctors and people that have been on semaglutide.
Interesting. What are your thoughts on the different large language models? Because Google has its own and OpenAI got it. There's Claude and also Meta's developing its own large language model. They're open sourcing it and they want to send their own. Do you think that'll change or how SEO is done? Or is it just basically going to be like large language model platforms similar to the social media platforms?
So I love this question. And I can tell how into our space, in the tech space you are. This is an amazing question because it's really the big question right now. Because either you're going to have all of these platforms are going to go to zero when it comes to the value. I don't believe that though. Personally, I think that one of them, it reminds me a little bit of 30 years ago when you had all the different browsers coming out. There was a million search engines that came out and they all basically did the same thing, but you still have a category king. Whoever wins the marketing game is going to win the whole LLM space. And I don't know who that's going to be. My bet is that it's going to be ChatGPT. And I think OpenAI is going to win this long term. As far as how it's going to impact SEO, I think it's going to take away some search share, but long term, like people are still going to Google. They're still going to search for things when they want information. It's easy. It's still easier than searching on ChatGPT. And even at that, I think that when people are really researching a topic, they're still going to want to quote unquote do their research. And that's going to be done through search engines.
Yeah. Really interesting. Oh, YouTube. Yeah. Yeah. YouTube. Yeah. Because it's really interesting because you have to go through a couple steps to get into ChatGPT to do the search, but Google, you can just one click and you're there. So if OpenAI creates a way that your X is just one step, that may be closer. But like I said, Google is kind of the first mover. It's got market share and it would be really interesting. How can people find you and their marketing, SEO? They want to learn from your more innovative approach. How can they contact you and check you out?
So our website is sagapixel.com. I would start off with our YouTube channel. Again, I've been preaching about YouTube and the blog. Check out our blog, go onto YouTube. I spell out how to do a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about in this video there. And if you fill out the contact form on the website, you can schedule time to talk to me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. And again, you're the first person that has this innovative approach to video and new types of content and how it's evolved, how we consume media. So it's very interesting. And thanks so much and keep up the great work.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Christopher. It was great to meet with you.